Welcome to the Corner Table Podcast, coming to you live on tape from Paxton's Grill in downtown Loveland. I'm your host, Steve Delata, along with Chuck Gibson, founder and editor of the Loveland Beacon, shining a light on Loveland and surrounding communities. We're going to chat today about some of the goings-on in Loveland and elsewhere. We'll talk with Johanna Kramer, president of the Art League of Loveland, or all about this weekend's upcoming Loveland Art Show. She has all the information you need for the show and some background about the Art League of Loveland itself. We'll also sit down with Ralph Dunnigan from Paxton's Grill and talk a bit about the 18th annual Cancer-Free Kids Golf outing that happened recently at Hickory Woods and Oasis Country Club. They had a lot of fun, raised a bunch of money for a great cause. That's all coming up. So, without further ado, let's kick off the premiere edition of the Corner Table Podcast from Paxton's Grill in downtown Loveland.
Well, greetings and welcome to the Corner Table Podcast. It's Steve Delata along with Chuck Gibson. Now, Chuck, I was thinking of just calling it our podcast because it's U.S. Open Golf Weekend. And have you been watching it all?
I don't watch golf, but I'm certainly aware of what's happening.
Well,
there.
it's the Country Club at Brookline, Massachusetts, but they just call it the Country Club because it was the first one there.
Wow.
Right. So there's no name because
nice background.
I was going to say our podcast, but I like the Corner Table thing.
Well, so here's the thing. So, telling the people hello and welcome to the Corner Table. Mm-hmm. And you know what? We're going to invite people to join us at the Corner Table. So that's kind of why I like the Corner Table.
At Paxton's Grill.
We're open to whatever.
Right.
Today we're at Paxton's Grill.
Right. In any event, I'm Steve Delata, announcer guy, your host, and I'm here with Chuck Gibson to discuss all things Loveland and other topics too. And as we both are veterans of media, aka old guys, we'll delve into some local happenings, some national stuff, and we'll most likely discuss the state of media these days as digital, social, TikTok, Elon Musk, and everything else has changed just about everything. And we have an interview coming up with Johanna.
That's a fact. Johanna is going to talk to us today in our premiere podcast, and she's going to talk about the Loveland. I'm going to get this right.
ALL.
Right? Yeah.
We just heard it.
The Art League of Loveland.
That's it.
Which is, the three letters ALL, because it's very inclusive. She's going to tell us all about the Art League of Loveland and their upcoming second annual Loveland Art Gallery Crawl, which is going to happen Saturday, June 25th. So we'll let Johanna tell us about that, but she's coming up.
I want to ask you about the Alicia Kenny story in just a bit, but first, the Loveland Beacon, how long ago did you start there?
So October 1st, 2019 was the original launch date.
Right along with COVID.
Right, well, a couple of months later, boom,
right.
COVID. Yeah, the funny story goes with that, Steve. I did not plan to get really busy when I started the Loveland Beacon.
And your plans worked out.
But when January, whatever, well, actually, we'll say March, because
right.
March is when it really went crazy.
When the stock market crashed.
And so Chuck and Loveland Beacon covering that COVID-19 and March 15th when it started, it was ridiculous. Working way too hard. Sorry, folks.
Right.
I didn't really want to work that hard.
Well, you had a lot of content with COVID.
But I hope those of you who are listening and were readers of Loveland Beacon appreciated how much. Yeah, that's the other funny story. So when I started Loveland Beacon, the signature line, shining a light for Loveland and communities. All right?
I know. I copied your logo right there.
Very good. So shining a light for Loveland and communities was purpose so that I could cover other communities, because how could Loveland possibly provide enough content to give me something fresh for the people every day?
Well, it's a large area, Loveland. How many people live in Loveland?
The city of Loveland, is it 23,000?
Right.
Or is it 13,000?
Yeah.
But we'll say somewhere between 13 and 23 in the city of Loveland.
I like your logo there.
Thank you.
That's pretty nice.
Well, we're going to have Johanna on. Johanna Kramer gets credit. She designed the Loveland Beacon logo.
Wow. So is she a graphic artist or something?
She is. Well, she does,
Okay.
Graphic artist.
All right. I want to ask you about a couple of stories, including the 5K race that I saw on your Facebook page. We'll get to that.
Okay.
Briefly, I followed the Alicia Kenny thing, and I thought because she was found, I'd ask you about it, if you know anything. or if there's information out there.
Well, the short version is she was reported to the Loveland Police Department as critical missing on Sunday, the 12th of June. We got the information via press release from the city of Loveland
Right.
on Monday, the 13th.
Right.
The police were saying, hey, help.
Right.
Here's how you can help. She was missing. We also had the storms Monday night.
Oh, yeah.
And a loss of electricity. So among those losing electricity, Loveland Beacon. So I wasn't really able to get much out.
Right.
Didn't get electricity back until
Right.
Even Tuesday night, late.
Bummer.
All right.
And it wasn't hot Monday night, was it?
All right.
Oh.
Yeah, holy smokes. Well, you know what? This is going to be one hot show because we started at one hot time in the summer. 90 plus.
Okay.
Short version is, by the time Loveland Beacon was able to publish information about Alicia Kenny
Right.
and her missing status, there was still no news. And that
Right.
was on Wednesday afternoon.
Right.
I published the story close to 5 p.m., really, on Wednesday, saying, hey, folks, the police are still asking for your help. They're still continuing the search. Literally within minutes after pushing the publish button for
Right.
that, I get the press release from the city, she's been found. So the answer to everybody's question is Alicia Kenny was found safe, returned home, Loveland Police Department. Nobody's providing any specific details. Where did they find her? What exactly happened?
Was she safe and healthy and
Safe and
untouched?
healthy, unharmed, good,
Right.
and back home.
Just maybe AWOL?
And LPD says, Loveland Police Department gives a lot of credit to the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department
Right.
for an assist and with resources, and the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigations.
You see a story like that, and I read the initial one where she's missing, and she's a beautiful 23-year-old. There's heart sinks. You're just like, oh my God, what happened?
Well, it touches, it touched at our home too. My granddaughter went to high school with her at Loveland High School.
okay.
They were in the same class. So immediately, our granddaughter, Lexi's like, oh my gosh, I know her.
Right,
So
right.
there was a lot of people in Loveland that had the same reaction. I know this girl.
Well,
So it touched some hearts.
It's nice to have a happy ending. Speaking of, I actually am an acquaintance of John Mock, the liver transplant recipient. I've seen some of his posts on Facebook. I think it's Facebook. About the food that he makes, which is beautiful.
Yeah, he's a serious foodie.
Yeah, and he's a great writer. But I read your story on the folks at UC Transplant, and great article.
Thank you.
A lot of people going through some tough times.
Well, the first thing I have to say, and I'm going to say Mr. Martin, because out of respect for that gentleman, but it's Brian Martin, who lives here in Loveland, who is a transplant recipient himself. If you want the side story, so I first met Brian while he was on the wait list. Got a lead to go talk to him for a potential story about this person on the wait list.
Right.
I have no idea what I'm going to see. And I don't know if anybody, if you haven't had it personally, maybe you don't know what that's like.
Oh my God.
But I knocked on his front door and I saw a man answer that door that was dying.
Really.
Brian did not look good. I felt like, oh my gosh, he's wiped out. He's just wiped out. I thought, I'm going to be quick and brief and get out of here because I feel like I'm taking energy from somebody who needs to save his energy. Outstanding interview, shared his story, had great hope, great faith. His faith in God is unbelievable. And one of the things that he was telling me, because I don't know, I'm sitting there in the interview and he says, waiting for that phone call. And, hey, Chuck, did you see the bag? I said, oh, yeah, I saw the bag on your banister when I came in the front door. He goes, that's my go bag. When the phone rings, we go because they've got,
Immediately.
Yeah, it's like we're gone. So, go bags for people in the, safety response industry, they know what that is. People who are on a wait list, they know what a go bag is too.
Right.
But Brian tells me, he says, yeah, if I get the call,
Right.
we go. The phone rang while I was with him.
No kidding.
And he goes,
It was you.
well, now here's the thing. So the rest of the story, phone rings and Brian says, you're going with me. Well, I'm like, no, I'm not. No, I am
You got a scoop,
not.
man. You got a scoop.
But I still say, thanks be to God, that was not the call that day.
Right.
But he did get the call, fortunately. Bottom line is, that leads to, Brian and I have had a very good relationship. He, and I said, out of respect, it's Mr. Gibson. I can't get him to call me Chuck.
Right.
And I call him Mr. Martin. And he invited me to be he invited me to meet the transplant team years ago that took care of him because he had the transplant. He's doing great.
Right.
And he has invited me to participate, for example, in that transplant picnic
Yeah.
with John Mock.
Yeah.
And so many other transplant victims. Incredible day. Incredible stories from some incredible people.
And the heart, the struggles they're going through, I mean, liver, heart, pancreas, kidney, all of it.
Yeah, and the transplant program at UC that includes all those things among the tops in the nation. And that was one of the biggest messages there at the picnic. And on that day, it was all specifically liver transplant.
Those are all liver.
But they know in the transplant team, the representative from the University of Cincinnati Medical Center transplant team.
God love them all.
Stay tuned for more of the premiere edition of the Corner Table Podcast in just a moment. Remember, when you're looking for Loveland news and information, there is no better place to turn than the Loveland Beacon. You'll find out about the people, places, and things all around the community, and an accurate, timely, and inspirational, unbiased, objective account for residents and visitors to make knowledgeable decisions impacting life in the city. You can find them at lovelandbeacon.com. And be sure to check out their Facebook page, too. Now, back to the Corner Table Podcast at Paxton's.
So joining us here at the Corner Table today on our premiere edition of the Corner Table Podcast is Joanna Kramer, president of, let me get this right now, the Loveland
Art League of Loveland, or ALL, A-L-L.
President, Art League of Loveland.
All. Because we're very inclusive. All. Art League of Loveland. That's thanks to Deirdre Dyson, by the way. She's the one who thought of that name.
Let's start with a little bit, because some of our, hopefully some of our listeners know all about ALL, but there's going to be some who don't. So tell us a little bit about ALL and where it came from and what's happening.
Okay, ALL is very new. Thanks to Kevin Maloff. He helped us incorporate. He filed the Articles of Incorporation last September with the state of Ohio. So we filed as a nonprofit art advocacy program. So we basically are here to ensure that all artists thrive, and specifically in Loveland. But we were kind of formed out of a need when the Arts Council was no more. There was a huge void in Loveland regarding art support, and there were supporters in Loveland, but there was no one to advocate for art like the Arts Council did for 20 years. Probably more than 20 years, when you think of it. But so we decided it was time to step in and fill the void, because we need that art advocacy. Well, in 2019, our vision was to bring back the legendary Loveland Art Show, because people love that art show. I think the last, in 2016, I was told there were about 80 or more artists from all over, and this is a juried show. So these aren't just artists; these are juried, excellent, wonderful, honored artists. So we wanted to have that pack. People have been asking, and there is nobody to do that. So thanks to a collaboration with CC from the Chamber, the Little Miami River Chamber Alliance. CC Collins, and then Otto Huber, who is a huge art advocate here in Loveland. They put us together with the city and Misty Brents, and thanks to Kathy, the mayor, I would say we partnered, collaborated with the city, and it happened. There is an art district in Loveland, and people don't know about the art district in Loveland. And it was January 2021 when we decided, well, first of all, we have to be more creative in getting the word out about the artists. So we have a website, and we thought we'd start interviewing different artists that are here in Loveland. And the first one I interviewed, and I want to have a shout out to Bob and Cindy Kessler, because if people don't know Bob and Cindy Kessler, they should, because they're phenomenal. They again have decades-long honored art business that does architectural stained glass windows and has been honored by the finest in that particular genre. So I wanted to start with them because they're sort of the cornerstone in the building, and I wanted people to know about Bob and Cindy Kessler. Without the Arts Council and their advocacy, it's like art disappeared. And so we thought, well, wait a minute. We mapped out Loveland, and we had not just Bob and Cindy Kessler and all the other artists at the Loveland Art Studios or Artist Studios,
Well, so besides seeing, besides visiting the art
Yeah.
galleries and the top 7, as we were just talking before we got
Yeah.
started, so those people at the galleries that are inviting the people to come in during the crawl, there's going to be some refreshments,
Yes.
and, wine and cheese, things like
right.
that.
It's an open house.
So
Yeah.
it's more than just seeing the art.
Absolutely.
And it's not necessarily, obviously the artists want to sell their art.
They do, but they want to talk about their art too. Yeah, they want you to meet them, find out why they do what they do. And we have an abstract expressionist, and I know a lot of people who don't understand. Well, I can understand why people don't understand art sometimes.
abstract.
It's particularly the abstract world. We're talking Jackson Pollock, but
Who?
please tell me you know who Jackson Pollock is. And Lee Krasner, because she was like the wind beneath his wings. She was the wife.
Steve knows.
I saw the movie with what's his name?
Yeah. That was a famous movie, actually.
I know.
Yeah, it was. So
Yeah.
anyway, ask them about their work and why they do what they do, and they'll tell you because artists are passionate about what they do. June 25th, 4 to 9 p.m. Yep. June 25th, 4 to 9 p.m. Be there, be in Loveland, and you'll have a
What's it cost?
free. It's free. Let me tell you, isn't that the best thing about it?
Free to the public.
They say some things. The best things in life are free, and this is one of the best things. I'm telling you.
And so then if they want to check out and learn more information and learn more about
Yes.
the Art League of Loveland,
Yes.
there's a website.
There is. They can start with the Loveland Artists Studios on main website, and it's I'm going to get this wrong. Loveland Studios on main.com.
You're not allowed to get it wrong.
Please, I just don't go there that often. But there's also a website just brand new for the Art League of Loveland, and it's easy to remember.
That's the one we want to know.
www.artsleagueofloveland.org.
All right, we're here with Ralph Donegan, one of the owners of Paxton's Grill, to talk about the 18th annual.
Cancer Free Kids golf outing that we put on every year.
And you said you do this at Hickory Woods and Oasis, is that right?
Correct. Well, it's first year at the Oasis, and first couple years we've done 2 rounds at the Hickory Woods.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun.
So you do it across a couple different days?
Yes, we do.
Most outings that I'm familiar with is usually one day, one shot.
Right.
Yeah. So how many golfers did you get?
We probably had in a range of 175, 200, something like that.
Big outing.
Yeah.
And did you raise lots of good dough for
We
the
hope
kids?
so. We don't know the final numbers yet. The last golf was on Monday, so we're trying to tabulate everything and get it all together.
What was the winning score?
I saw 18 under.
18 under.
Yeah, that was on Friday.
Okay.
We're going to have different winners on Friday, and Saturday's going to be a separate contest, and Monday will be a separate contest. So.
18 years, so this is your biggest amount of.
I hope so. Last year we did pretty good. It's going to be hard to beat. We did $85,000 last year raised. So.
And where exactly does that go?
Cancer Free Kids.
Yeah, that's an organization in town.
Local Loveland charity, started by Sam and Ellen Flannery. Yeah.
Well, great cause, and
It is.
the people of Loveland and everywhere else. So thank you.
We enjoy doing it. It's a lot of fun, and the weather's cooperative. We've never been rained out, and let's keep it that way, please.
Now, what if someone wants to look into it for next year or to donate to the cause?
Absolutely. You go to our website, paxtonsgrill.com, or Cancer Free Kids website. I'd be happy to field any questions, too. They can call me here at the restaurant at 513-583-1717. My email is ralph@paxtonsgrill.com.
All right, Ralph.
Be happy
Sounds
to help
good.
them out.
Thank you, Ralph Donegan.
Appreciate
from
it.
Paxton's Grill. Good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The premiere edition of the Corner Table Podcast was recorded on Thursday, June 16th at Paxton's Grill in downtown Loveland. And now, back to Chuck and Steve.
Let me ask you, in light of kind of taking a left turn here, but all the gun violence, has anything in the Loveland schools been discussed? Security officers, anything new there they've come up with?
Well, immediately in response to that most recent shooting and I'm going to say the name of the town wrong, so I won't say it, but that immediate school shooting in Texas, right away, school superintendent Mike Broadwater, who is in his first year as a superintendent at Loveland, 35 years in the education business for him, but his first year as superintendent here at Loveland, he responded immediately with a message out to, the entire school community and frankly all the Loveland community about here's what our safety stuff is, and if you have any questions about it or concerns about the safety of your children, don't hesitate to call or send an email or whatever. But there's two sides of that. One, as a journalist, I want to sit down and say, okay, what do you guys do exactly? Well, he'll share what he can, but the second side of that is, well, we're not telling.
Right.
You don't want to give a potential gunman or whatever it is.
We're on a need-to-know basis.
The secret. But I have had the privilege to talk to the police chief in the past here in Loveland about what they do and the procedures and the safety and how they continue to update. So when you say anything new, always something.
Right.
And just because of that shooting, there will be lessons that are shared across the nation with police departments and school officials everywhere. What could we have done better? And what worked and what didn't.
God, they ebb and they flow, and they seem to be flowing right now. So let's hope they stop. How about Loveland Council? We have a new member of Loveland Council. Is that correct?
Right. Well, the people around the community, those of you guys out there listening to this corner table conversation with Steve Delata and myself, that Tim Butler, who was on council, top vote getter back in November, his second term, so reelected to his second term, but he resigned, citing essentially health reasons and things, family and health reasons. So when he resigned recently, May, I don't remember the exact date, but as of Tuesday, the 14th of June, a couple of days ago, since we're doing this on the 16th of June, council voted unanimously 6-0 to appoint Neil Uri as the replacement for Tim Butler, to fill in his unexpired term. And of course, people in the community are going to be familiar. Neil Uri was on council and was the next top vote, or not next top vote getter, but had the next most votes of those who didn't get elected, or in his case, re-elected in November.
And are they on 2 or 4 year terms?
4-year terms. Yeah. So
are they staggered?
They are staggered. Of course, the thing is, when you have something like that, and that's a great question, because the staggered terms can get messed up when somebody leaves and an appointee comes in. But eventually, he'll serve out the unexpired term, which is going to be 4 years.
J.D. Vance or Tim Ryan?
Well, I'm going to say J.D. Vance. How about you?
Well, I think I'll go with J.D. Vance because they're replacing a Republican. So
there you have it.
There it is. Boom. All right, we saved the best for last. The big lead story from the Loveland Beacon.
Are you hungry? You ready for some bacon? Hey, we'll talk about that another day because I've got a great story about that. But anyway,
the parking garage.
The parking garage. So the parking garage, which has been controversial anyway, took a funding hit.
Yeah.
Expected to be, $6.5 million overall.
Right.
$3.12 million of that was supposed to come from a federal EDA grant.
What grant?
An EDA, Economic Development Association.
Right.
Grant.
From Joe Biden?
Right. The roots of it are COVID.
Sure.
In all honesty.
Right.
So all that money was coming from the COVID stuff.
Large S. They print money and send it to people. Sure.
Exactly.
It's beautiful.
And we have a great city manager in David Kennedy who knows how to go find it, and apply for those grants. And he applied for this one, which would have helped.
So we got
to the tune of $3.12 million.
That's what, half roughly?
Right. If awarded the grant.
Right.
However, Loveland got news Tuesday that they will not be receiving that grant. So that's the lead story. Thank you very much.
No, I'm good.
We're good. Thank you very much.
Moved along.
See, when we're sitting at the corner table, you get some great service here at Paxton's Grill.
Exactly.
At the corner table.
But my mountains and my Coors Light are blue.
Are we allowed to say that during the podcast? We had
Coors Light should send me a case of beer just for saying that.
There you go. Well,
what do you got there?
And then he breaks into his Irish accent and he says, "And the folks in Dublin should be sending me a free Guinness, don't you?"
That looks like a nice pint there.
Well, if you don't have the Guinness, I won't be drinking the beer. Just so you know. But anyway.
So wait a minute. So the feds reneged?
No, I mean, it's an application process. Apparently, according to city leaders, in this case, there was a lot. I shouldn't say according to city leaders. According to the federal grant folks, the EDA, they had a lot of applicants. It comes out of, it's regional.
Right.
So there was, I don't know how many millions of dollars available through the Chicago region where Loveland would apply. And they had hundreds of applicants with great, reasonable projects.
So we're not getting.
Parking garage is still on the table, but city leaders are going to have to take a different look because $3.12 million that they were hoping for was not granted.
It wasn't guaranteed.
It was not
They
guaranteed.
just applied for a grant.
Right. So they applied for the grant, got news on Tuesday. It's quite a storm Monday.
Right.
The news that followed on Tuesday was a different kind of storm for city leaders trying to get the parking facility project funded.
How about Governor DeWine? How about some state money?
I'm sure they're looking at those opportunities too. Right now, no additional information of where they're going to go. They're going to meet. They're going to talk.
Right.
The mayor, the city manager, and the members of council and the finance council for the city. They'll all come together and start looking at where.
So I've tried to park here, and when on a Saturday morning when I'm trying to get eggs from the Eggman, I mean I can't even find a place to park. I had to meet him in Deer Park the other day.
Well, Steve, you and I are going to be found by the listeners to be on the same page on a lot of topics.
Nice.
And I'm going to make some listeners of the Loveland Corner Table podcast unhappy today.
It's okay.
Because I am not among the people in Loveland who believe we have a parking problem. I've been here over 20 years. I have never, ever, not one time on any given day when we have events. And as a journalist covering the events,
right.
I have to come to the events
right.
when it's most crowded and everybody says, I can't find a place to park. I park.
So you're saying
Never
you're saying they don't need a garage?
City leaders will be mad at me for saying that too, but I don't think a garage, if there is a real honest to goodness parking problem, I don't think the garage is necessarily the solution. I like the plan that they presented. As somebody who's not in favor of the parking garage generally, because I don't think we have a parking problem,
right.
I think the plan they presented for that parking garage was a very good one.
How about a referendum for the taxpayers? You think the taxpayers want it bad enough for an increase in taxes?
That's the question. One of the loudest voices in the community against it, a woman named Lauren Endes, she's spoken out very loudly against the parking garage as it stands now.
Right.
And she says herself, I'm just saying I want a referendum, as you just mentioned. Now, that's not required. Council, the city does not have to have a referendum for such a thing. But that's what she would like. People who are against the garage as it stands would like a referendum. But the loudest voices say, hey, you know what? If the people say yes, then I'm fine with that.
Right.
But I just want the people to be heard, the taxpayers to be heard. That's who's going to foot the bill.
Right. Absolutely.
There you go.
Right. So, but I mean, council can pass it if they want, and then levy the tax. They can do that.
They can. They've done it. I mean, the plan's there. The proposal's there. They're moving. The council said we want to do this, but now they're going to have to look for the funding somewhere else.
Right.
And that's where, in terms of the lead story right now this week, in the fact that they didn't get the $3.12 million grant. That's the final word from the city manager right now. Hey, we'll meet, we'll discuss, and we'll figure out what's the next steps. Maybe one of those next steps. I don't have the mayor or the city manager sitting with us right now. I'd love to have them.
Maybe we'll bring them in.
They'll join us at some point, and they can tell us, what the next step. Maybe one of the next steps is, hey, we're going to have to table the parking garage and look at some other parking solutions. And by the way, when you come in on that really busy Saturday, give me a shout. I'll tell you where to go park.
Sounds great. Chuck, it was fun.
All right.
That was the Corner Table podcast.
This concludes our first edition of the Corner Table. Thanks for joining us at the Corner Table.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to the Corner Table podcast from Paxton's Grill in downtown Loveland. For more information on the podcast, go to lovelandbeacon.com. Click the Contact Us drop-down and leave your message. Or drop us a line on their Facebook page.